and I'm bringing you a very special breakdown. I'm going to be covering NFL News and Notes. NFL News and Notes is my weekly update where I give you guys some updates on some of the news stories you may have missed, some of the things you may have not seen through your travels through the NFL. So we're going to get started right away. It's not going to be too long, but it's action packed. Um, the Houston Texans, CJ Gardner Johnson, feels highly disrespected by the Philadelphia Eagles. After winning the Super Bowl, they did ship him off to the Houston Texans. They had to make moves. Let's face it, the salary cap wasn't the easiest to play with. They did bring him back in order to win a Super Bowl. He was on a previous team for the Philadelphia Eagles as well, but you often have to realize that the NFL is a business. Him feeling disrespected and him feeling like this is disrespect in his way or shape or form. You got to keep in mind, Howie Roseman is a general manager that makes deals left and right. He does the best that he can do to make sure his team is in tip-top shape and goes for the best possible players that are going to help him towards winning a Super Bowl. As you've seen the last couple of years, they have been to the Super Bowl multiple times. So it's just showing you not only getting to an NFC championship game, but winning an actual Super Bowl is the goal for the Philadelphia Eagles. So CJ Gardner Johnson has been outspoken. It's not anything bad or anything like that, but let it be a little motivation for him this season. Hopefully he'll work it out and get paid a little bit more by that. The Texans, speaking of, they signed Nick Chubb. Former Browns running back Nick Chubb has signed with the Houston Texans. You're looking at that backfield having Joe Mixon there as well, and him being a guy that can bring a lot to the table. When you think about running the football, highly touted out of Georgia, he literally carried the Browns for a couple of years. Very dynamic as a rusher, very dynamic as a touchdown scorer, and you also have to think he's been marred with injuries the last couple of seasons. Even though he's been marred with the injuries the last couple of seasons, he's been very effective. When you think about the yards on the ground, he's been the model of consistency. 6,843 rushing yards with 51 touchdowns. That ranks third in Browns history for each. So he was on his way to passing and basically getting to the top of that list before the injuries cut his career short there. Joe Mixon, Damian Pierce, and also Dare Ogunbowale is also in Houston at the running back position. I think that Mixon's going to be the number one, and you're going to see a sprinkle of Nick Chubb throughout that offense. I feel like he knows the offense. He can adapt well, and you're thinking that if he's back from injury, he can help this Texans team do some damage and have a pretty good 1-2 punch in the actual run game. And I think that, injuries cut his time short with Cleveland, and that sucks. But you got to think, this is just one of those things where you really got to ask yourself if they have a run game, if they can settle down and get the quarterback position to where he can make the throws and he has healthy wide receivers on the field. I think they have a great wide receiving core. You look at what they had last year, even with Stephon Diggs, it was just injuries that cut that short. So I think the Texans are going to be off to a pretty good start this season. I think having an offseason where everybody's healthy, everybody's in the fold, that's going to help them tremendously. Like last year, they didn't have everybody healthy. So the Rams, young, talented linebacker slash defensive end Jared Verse thinks that he left around 10 sacks on the field last season. Around 10. He says that he can get a couple more small changes and he can essentially get that sack number up from his rookie year. So you got to ask yourself, the AP Rookie of the Year defensively, could he essentially repeat that? Could he make sure that he gives a little bit more effort, does one or two things differently, and could he really control the defense for the Rams? He has the talent. I don't see why not. But specifically, it was 4.5 sacks that Verse specifically spoke about, and he talked about he could have tripled some of those from allowing the quarterback to get away, simply not playing discipline. And he's modeling his game a little bit behind Myles Garrett. So you think about your great athletes, you think about the great people that you want to poise your game after, and Myles Garrett is somebody definitely that I would say you can model your game after. And, with that being said, that's a respect thing. That's a respect thing for not only him, but just showing the sign of respect that he looks up to Myles Garrett. That's a beautiful thing. It looks like the Miami Dolphins are not really planning to have Jaylen Ramsey around them until a trade's worked out. The two sides been back and forth about negotiating a trade. I reported that last week that they were thinking about sending him possibly back to the Los Angeles Rams. That was the one deal that we kept hearing through the NFL draft. That was one deal that we kept hearing through the NFL offseason, was him possibly going back to the Los Angeles Rams. Sean McVay respects Jaylen Ramsey amazingly. And you think that Their relationship is great. They've had a working relationship before and won a Super Bowl. And you think that, Miami is just going through a transition where they're possibly having a yard sale, selling off their best players, their best people, and their best picks in order to get better or either to get out from Tariq Hill and company. So that's going to be tough to see where that goes. But you also have to ask yourself, where does Jaylen Ramsey potentially get you the most back from? When you're thinking about a trade, do you want picks back? Do you want players back? Do you want a combination of picks and players? Jaylen Ramsey is still somebody that can make a difference on the defensive side. And I think that he may be possibly making a shift from the cornerback position, possible to a safety position. That adds value to it because not only if your team just needs a safety away or a corner away, he can kind of play both. He can play nickel, he can play slot, he can play a number of things. He has the speed and athleticism to do it. So I think that that's one of those big things there. The Denver Broncos. Bo Nix is talking about how he feels a lot better in the offense. They've added a couple more pieces to that offensive tree. And you think about how just they're going to be using certain players in the offense. When you think about the offense, Sean Payton specifically spoke on Evan Ingram, the offseason acquisition that they got. And he says that he's going to be the joker for the lineup. But Evan Ingram likes to refer to himself as the cleaner on social media. So I think that having a tight end that's a good safety valve guy and a guy that plays like Travis Kelce, where he can give you mismatches against linebackers, mismatches against corners, will definitely help this Broncos offense thrive. And with that defense being rebuilt on the other side and them adding key acquisitions, I think that it's possible that you're going to see the Denver Broncos pick up a little bit of steam in that one. If you've been sleeping under a rock, it's been announced that Saquon Barkley is going to be the cover boy for Madden 2026. And when you think about it, the amazing play that he made essentially against the Jacksonville Jaguars is going to be on the cover of that Madden pose. And when you look at Saquon, he's posing backwards where he did the jump backwards where he no-look jumped. And essentially that's going to be a big seller. When you think about the phenomenal year that he had, almost breaking Eric Dickerson's record, but he essentially bowed out so his team can have the success. It was a lot behind that, but he essentially got the Super Bowl win. He got the career year, he got the payday, and he showed the New York Football Giants, look, I still got a lot left in the tank, and I'm still going. It's one of those things. The big takeaway from that is, if you work hard, you can get whatever you want to, essentially, from that standpoint. One of the big things that we're looking at is Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers, now that he has signed with the Pittsburgh Steelers, it's a revenge tour, essentially. He's going to be playing the Jets on that revenge tour for one of the first games that he plays, but he's also going to be playing his old former team that drafted him, the Green Bay Packers. And when you think about this, Packers Jordan Love can't wait to square off against Steelers Aaron Rodgers on different sides. So when you think about the guy that helped give you tutelage when you were first drafted, when you think about those relationships that they have, and now you essentially get to play Jordan Love, and it's probably going to be their only meeting in an actual game. But I think that having handled himself how he did, having sat behind Aaron Rodgers, and nearly 2 or 3 years after Aaron Rodgers is gone, where he is now, you got to ask yourself, was the Jordan Love sitting worth it? Have we seen enough out of Jordan Love to say it was worth keeping him and letting Aaron Rodgers go, or was it worth sitting him on the bench? I think right now you can say yes. Yes, they moved on from him. Yes, the Jets moved on from him. And yes, he's now a Steeler. But when you're returning to the crime of the scene and you're thinking about this and you're asking, will Rodgers' cast help him overshadow a win for Green Bay? Can he fight off the Green Bay Packers? Because the Green Bay Packers are essentially going to be in the playoff hunt. That's what we think. That's what we're thinking. They're at this point of the season, when they meet up, they're going to essentially have this game and they're going to have a showdown. So I think that it's tough. But overall, I think Green Bay will give them a serviceable game. Depending on what they have injury-wise, I don't know if they're going to be able to compete with the Pittsburgh Steelers. But I know that, it's been an exciting thing to watch Jordan Love grow behind the scenes and seeing him grow as a quarterback. Overall, the Steelers organization is doing a lot of things to help Aaron Rodgers, tweaking things. They're getting the locker room together. And I think that the defensive presence of all those veterans in there is going to help Aaron Rodgers essentially. And that's kind of where that is. But overall, in the last big story that we have for the day, the New York Football Giants. Essentially, Russell Wilson is not really here for the mentoring program. He's not here to mentor Jackson Dart. He's not here to mentor Jameis Winston. We saw he wasn't here to mentor Justin Fields when he was with the Steelers. So he's a mentor of the team. So he's taking this by the reins and he's saying that he's the starter. He's saying that he's the incumbent starter. So he doesn't have to really worry about mentoring individuals. And he's here for himself. So you got to understand Russell Wilson, his presence and what he brings to the table, his Super Bowl leadership, and essentially playing in the same stadium where he won a Super Bowl at. Those are some of the key things. But the question is, do you feel like Russ should be a Super Bowl mentor, if you will? Should he give Jackson Dart some knowledge, even though Jackson Dart's there to take his job? Should he help him in any way, shape, or form? Do you feel like NFL players should adopt, players and take them under their wing, or just like, hey, you're on your own. We're all trying to make money here. So I don't know, folks. It's just difficult, but this has been your NFL update. This has been your NFL Minute. Please subscribe to the YouTube podcast if this is your first time here. I want to welcome you. My name is Stephen Hill, and this is Sports Choice Plus, and this has been a News Minute, NFL Minute update. For more updates, for more of these things, hit the subscribe button. Make sure you turn the notification bell on, and we'll see you on the next